Hey, what's up guys? Tyler here with Secure Team. Hope you guys are all having a good day or night. So the first thing I want to talk about today, I want to talk a little bit about cover-ups. Because cover-ups and UFOs go together like peanut butter and jelly, or lamb and tuna fish, or horse and carriages, or whatever you want to say, they go together. It's been documented throughout the years. Almost every time there's a major sighting or event that gets the attention of the government or actually happens to government workers or Air Force pilots or something like that, usually, almost without question, these sightings and events are covered. Usually some sort of mundane explanation is put forth, and the public are usually left with more questions than answers. And so, with that said, I want to start here with an update to a very mysterious story that I did a report on a couple of videos back, where we had this air ambulance helicopter flying high above the Las Vegas desert, and one of the pilots suddenly spotted something very strange on his night vision goggles. He couldn't see it with his regular eyes. He was only able to pick it up using these advanced night vision goggles, and they even had a recording of it between the pilot and ground control as it happened. And if you haven't seen that video, well, here's that short recording of the sighting.
Sierra 21, radar contact 15 to the west of Las Vegas, VOR, cleared through Bravo airspace.
Hey, 21, position check. Just to advise, it looks like I have some sort of object over the southern hills area. Looks to be about 7,000 feet. Could be a balloon or something along those lines. It's just unlit, so just advise.
Okay, I'm not seeing anything in that area, but that's not to say, like you're saying, there's something out there.
Yeah, I can only see it. I got the night vision goggles on. I can only see it through the goggles.
Oh, that's awesome.
Okay, so when I did that original video, the story to which was broken on a website called thedrive.com, a lot of questions were brought up about what this object could be. And in that video, I mentioned the fact that the pilot said, well, could it have been a balloon or something like that? But you could tell in his voice, it was definitely something strange. And as well, I've heard from many pilots over the years that when they see these things, because they know they are being recorded, that basically they are to always mention that, well, it could be a balloon or something natural on recording. That way, if it comes out, they can cover all of their bases. It's a common thing with pilots, most of which are told to either keep quiet or make it seem like it was nothing, something mundane. And while it would seem that that still holds true, after an update to this original report was posted on thedrive.com in what can only be described as a very expected response from this airline company regarding the UFO sighting, well, here's the update. It says, quote, "It took a few days, but we finally got comment from Air Methods. Here is what their director of communications told me. Quote, Hi Tyler, the pilot believes that the object in question were Mylar balloons. Thanks." And that's it. That is it. That is the response in all of its glory and obviousness. Where before, the pilot had no idea what this object was. You could hear it in his voice on the recording. Not to mention the fact that whatever this thing was, it was seen at about 7,000 feet up from miles away and via night vision goggles. So it all seemed really strange, and everything was pointing away from it being any type of balloon or something like that. It just doesn't make sense. And now with this basically one-sentence response from the airline company, I think it's pretty obvious here when you read between the lines that we have a typical scripted response. Same response we always get from these companies and these airlines whenever these things are found. And I just thought this was kind of humorous. So there you have it. Make of that what you will, but it seems to me like in many of these cases, you'll have these pilots who have no idea what they saw, and then, over a matter of days or weeks after, suddenly, their memories will be jogged clean, and you'll have statements like this, or statements from the companies on behalf of the pilots, stating with 100% certainty that these things were balloons or swamp gas, and well, I think you guys know the score. So, tell me what you think down below. I'll put the link to the original video if you haven't seen it yet. Check it out. And speaking of other cover-ups, I'd like to show you a clip today of yet another example of NASA cutting the live feed after a UFO appears while one of the astronauts is out doing a spacewalk and just doing some work on the International Space Station. Now you'll notice here that for a good portion of the video, there's no UFO. The UFO appears just above the Earth's horizon line. And I want you guys to notice that up until the UFO appears, the video feed is pretty stable. But I want you guys to watch here that right as the UFO appears, you'll notice the live feed starting to get more and more interference until the point where they finally decide to just cut it and go to the famous blue screen that we're all familiar with. So here's the point where the UFO actually comes into view, and you'll notice the interference in the video feed ramping up. And then, finally, the feed cut, which, oddly enough, coincidentally, happens right as the UFO comes into view, and they know that either the astronaut doesn't see it, or there's a delay in communication, so finally, they end up cutting the feed. And here, a few seconds later, because they can't leave the feed down for too long, because then people will know they're trying to hide something, you'll notice an obvious change in what the astronaut is doing, and how he is now panning the camera away from the object and back towards the ISS where you can no longer see it. So, I mean, this is just every time one of these UFOs appear, we would normally see this blue screen. They're watching the feed. We know that they cut it, but it seems that they're now implementing this sort of interference with the camera that kind of makes it look less of an intended feed cut. And I guess it's just to make it look more natural before the feed is actually cut. So they introduce some interference here, make it look like a camera issue. But you watch the whole 3 or 4 minute clip, and right as the UFO appears, we start getting this interference before the camera suddenly and mysteriously goes down. So something was caught hovering in space here, watching the ISS, watching the astronaut, or just doing something else. We don't know, but we know that they saw it, and, well, add it to the list of the hundreds, if not thousands, of other strange objects seen in the distance while the astronauts are out working above Earth in space. So tell me what you guys think. Now, for some interesting science news, here is an artist's rendition of the new Mars helicopter that is set to be launched above the red planet during a 2020 mission, where they have just completed a successful test of the new high-tech rover, sort of rover copter, that is being designed to fly in the planet's nearly non-existent atmosphere. The actual aircraft that they're testing that will fly over the surface just took its first flight. And apparently, while there was 2 brief test flights that combined spent a little over an hour in the air during testing, and apparently the flight test was enough to show the team that the craft, with all of its 1,500 parts and 4 pounds, was ready to package up and send to the red planet. So here we go, guys. We're actually going to have a mini helicopter with the ability to fly around Mars, fly through the atmosphere, go down to the surface, probably take some amazing video and photos. The helicopter is most likely going to operate autonomously, seeing as the half-hour round trip for commands would be just too far for an Earth-based pilot to operate it. But still, just goes to show how far we've come. But then again, you'll have those out there who believe that we have already had technology like this that is 30, 40, 50 years more advanced than they're letting on. But I'll leave that up to you guys as always. So with that, be sure to subscribe, share, stop by secureteam.com for extra strange news, fan photos, and more. And I will see you all back in just a bit.